Go ahead.
Can you guys see my screen? GitHub repo.
Yep, I can.
Great. Cool. So, yeah, today I want to talk about GoodTables.io, which is the project Evgeny and I have been working for the past few weeks, and that essentially builds on all the great work that many of you guys have been doing on the lower level libraries like the tables itself or Tabulator, GTS, etc. In a nutshell, we want to provide a platform for continuous data validation where I guess many different backends can hook into this platform and run validation tasks. And to do so, we wrap the GoodTables Python library, which, as you know, it's used to inspect and validate tabular data using Tabulator to ingest various data sources and returning a report with the findings. In terms of how we have structured the application, and if you want to have a read of the whole thing and like thoughts that were put into it, it's on issue number 2, but I'll on the repo, but I will jump straight into the last schema. So essentially what we've done is, as I said, was designing a job-based system that runs simple validation tasks based on GoodTables and store the result on some database. And on top of that, there's some job management, which essentially dealt with by salary. And then on top, we've created a layer of helpers or an API that allows you to manage jobs and like create jobs or check the status of a particular job, etc. And then on top of that, we have the application itself and the different plugins for different integrations, like GitHub, S3, maybe in the future Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever. And the idea is that by having this common API layer, really stable and well defined, that it's really easy to add different plugins that add extra support for different backends, and then all can hook into this common job infrastructure. And of course, at the same time, we also want to provide pure like HTTP API that can be used by other third-party applications to integrate with GoodTables.io. I think it's going to be a really important part of it, of the whole system, especially when we add support for webhooks or callbacks or stuff like that. So we don't need to develop all these backends ourselves. That's pretty much it in terms of the architecture. As you can see, it's nothing really complex so far, and we've tried to keep it simple and make it really modular. And the first thing we focus on for the MVP or the first release, if you want, was the GitHub integration. So for the rest of the presentation, I'll do a quick demo. We do have a staging site at goodtables.oklabs.org, but fortunately I checked before starting and it's down and broken, so I will use my local development version to show you guys what we've done. Cool, let me move to the terminal. Can you guys see this? Is it too small? Should I make it a bit bigger? I'm gonna assume that you can see it.
Yeah, it's okay.
So what I'm gonna do here is just normal. Basically, I will create a job via the API. So this is using the HTTP API directly, no integrations or anything. And basically, what I'm passing through is just the a URL to a CSV that is available online. And the API returns me a job ID that I can use to track the status. Internally, this is the salary queue, which I'm not sure what I'm showing it to you, but essentially there was some validation done in here, and the good tables report was stored in the database. So now, if we query back the API with this ID, we get the response with the good tables report and some other extra stuff for goodtables.io that tells you about the job. And we have an API, a web interface for that, which is very complex and reactive, as you can see. And essentially, right now it's just a list of jobs, the job IDs, and when you click on it, you have this report that eventually will use the same templates that we use on other tools, I think, like goodtables.org or stuff like that. And you can see here the report render more nicely. So that's essentially creating jobs using the HTTP API. But of course, what is exciting about this is that we can integrate with other tools. And as I said, the first backend that we integrated with was GitHub. The way that the GitHub integration works is that the one that many other different tools use, like Travis, for instance, is that essentially we create a webhook on the repository. Right now, this is done manually, but eventually it will be done automatically by the application. And what these webhooks do are whenever you, well, I'm not going to confirm this. Whenever you push or create a pull request to the repo, it will send a JSON payload back to the URL that you have defined on the hook, and then it will allow you to basically do whatever you want with this payload. What I'm going to do here on my local machine is to do a request that is like just a subset of the whole JSON payload that GitHub sends you to your webhook. But essentially, what we need from GitHub is just the URL that they're using to clone the repo and some metadata about like the name of the repo or the owner of the organization, etc. And more importantly, the actual commit or the head that this push refers to. So that's essentially what I'm going to do now, is what we'll do GitHub when we push to a repo. Again, we get an ID, and there was some extra work done on the salary queue. Just apart from the validation, there was a previous step that we cloned the repo and computed the files that actually need to be validated. But essentially, the end result is the same. We are just chaining different salary tasks together, and all end up on the validation tasks. But the main difference, so if I went to the API and then check for this ID, I will see the same report, and on the UI I would say the same report. But also what we've done here is that we've hooked into the GitHub status API, so that on the commit list there's a small check here to tell us that the that the data was valid in exactly the same way that Travis or Circle CI works when you are running automated tests. And when you click on the check or the cross, if it's failed, you get redirected back to the report on goodtables.io. What else? So that's essentially all that we have up until now. So that's what we aim for the MVP. I think that we will start using this or an enhanced version of this quite soon with the different pilots that we have in place for frictionless data that require some form of automatic validation. And today we'll probably sit down with Paul and Evgeny to plan about next steps, which will probably be around like defining a proper authorization model, because right now everything is using like a hard-coded API key, and we need users to authorize use of their GitHub account to do all these API calls, and probably start looking into different backends as well. And that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts?
Yes, I have.
Go on.
First of all, is it deployed already, or is planned to deploy?
It's deployed on goodtables labs.org. So you can have a play if you want, but it's broken right now, so you probably we need to fix it first.
Cool. Another question: is there docs? I don't know, some docs how to use it and API interfaces, so on.
No. So for the API interface, there are no docs. For setting up the GitHub webhooks and stuff, I have written down on this comment, which I'm gonna paste now on Slack. But the API is essentially slash API job for posting, creating an API, a validation job, and then API job and the ID for getting the results. There's nothing else apart from that.
Okay, because I'd like to try this API and so on.
Absolutely, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? Evgeny, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I have a question. Actually, two questions. So first of all, do you download the entire file that you want to validate from the source, basically? And if so, how do you manage? Okay.
Sorry, I think we just stream it. So we're passing URLs to good tables, and I mean, Evgeny will know the basics better, but I think that we just stream the files and read them from that stream.
Okay, so there's no sort of danger of running out of memory if there's like a too large file, basically.
Evgeny, do you want to answer that?
Yes. Adam?
Yes. Okay.
No, the answer is streaming, yeah.
Okay.
But there will be other integrations, and so I think we will run into some edge cases. We'll see.
Okay.
But by design, yes, it should be streaming. And for example, if you have like in good tables YAML error limit 1, like how fast, so there's no reason to download something. But as far as you know, for XLSX files, you still need to download and upload. But by design, yeah.
But then it's streamed. Okay. And okay. So next question is which backend are you using? I mean, from a technical point of view, which database or I know framework you're using, like from technical implementation detail.
Yep. So essentially, we are using Postgres as a database backend and Celery for running tasks. And then it's just a Flask application on top and some Python to glue it together.
Okay. And results are basically saved like forever, or are they deleted after some point?
We haven't thought about it, but I will assume that we will delete them after a while.
Okay. And my last question is about the GitHub integration. Did you use any existing framework, or did you write it all by yourselves?
Right now, the only thing that we are interfacing with GitHub is the API call for setting the status, and that was like it's just directly done directly via requests. I didn't particularly like any of the most used Python GitHub wrappers that were around, and until we integrate properly with the GitHub OS like flow, I don't think we need one.
Okay. So these are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
One more question about GitHub hook. Just to make it clear, is it checking just pushed CSV files, or not? Does it have some filter for file type?
No, yeah. So GitHub then allows you to filter pushes, so it will send you every single push or every action on a pull request, actually. So what we have to do is filter. I mean, we could be clever and check if the commit or the change sets include CSVs or not, and then run the validation task or not. But right now we're just running validation against the CSVs on every single push. And one thing that I didn't mention and probably I should is that we have this good tables.yaml file that you can put on the base of the repo, like the travis.yaml file, and that allows you to filter the files that you want to validate, and also pass the same configuration options that good tables allows you to, like what tests or what checks to run or not for, and a schema, of course, if there's one.
So if I don't add such file into my repo, hook will check everything as everything as CSV and check it. Yes,
It
am I
will
right?
it will it will find all the CSVs on your repo or Excels and validate those. Yes.
Ah, okay, great.
Right now we're not being really clever, and we're cloning the whole repo locally on the server, and like from the list of all files, we are just filtering the CSVs, either with good tables or YAML or without. But we want to improve that to avoid having to clone the whole thing on our server, and use the tree API from GitHub that allows you to basically to get the paths from the repo without having to download them. So that's something for another iteration, I guess.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would have a practical question too, which is basically a follow-up of Lefko's, but for my EU subsidies, I've got basically a repo arranged with a subfolder system, which is by country and by region. There's all kinds of CSV files in there, and And not all of them I want to check. So is there a way to filter?
Yes. So on the good tables.yaml file, um, let me make this bigger. So that's on the wiki page on the repo, by the way.
Okay.
You can define patterns. So basically, stuff that is on a particular folder. I guess that you can use. I'm not sure it supports different like complex patterns like all CSVs on these subfolders on every country or things like that. But on the worst, at the very least, you can definitely point exactly to the files that you need to validate on the YAML file and not the others.
Okay, so I could actually make my own list in a sense in there and
Yes,
give
yes,
you a
of course.
yeah. Okay. And then the star and everything that's sort of command line type um, usage. Is there regex also supported, or how does it work?
Um, I don't know if you implemented this. Is there support for regex in there?
Not now, it's glob, but it's like good tables YAML is work in progress. I think we will could implement like many requests later, how it will be in real life. But for now, it's like this Python function like fn match.
Yeah, I don't actually need that anyways. There was a kind of a question out there. Okay, so and where does this file go? It's basically in the top directory, and it has to be called .goodtables.yaml, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Anyone else? Cool. I guess this is it then.
Thanks, Adrià. It was great, and it's really awesome. I think the concept and the approach and the implementation as well. So cool.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shall we leave it here?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Adrià. It was very clearly explained. Yeah.
Thanks.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Have a good day.